Chris, you mentioned it. This is a quarterback in Aidan Chiles who's getting better, who coming into the year, my read on it was he's got a bunch of talent. He's clearly your best option. There are going to be growing pains. This isn't a year where you expect to do a whole lot, although, they may make a bowl game for the first time in a few years. And he's going to get better throughout the season, and he's going to be your long-term answer. And it feels like that trajectory is playing out as we go along this season. He's completing 59% of his passes, not a great mark, but can really, hit some incredible throws, some terrible throws as well. He should have had a pick the possession before he then threw a bad pick against Iowa. Of course, like any young quarterback is going to have some of those close calls, even when it's not a turnover, but he has turned the ball over 12 times this year, 9 picks, 3 fumbles. He has 6 touchdowns through the air, 3 of them on the ground, which leads the Michigan State team. And he's got a big play threat at wide receiver in Nick Marsh, who's averaging 18 yards a catch, 3rd in the Big Ten, 433 yards. He missed the Boston College game. So that's only in 6 games, and really probably would have won that game if he was in. So I think the key is get after this quarterback, contain him, and make sure Michigan State doesn't have the success they did last week running the ball, because they haven't been a good run team all season long.
Yeah, we think he's the long-term answer there. You never know with the portal now, right? Somebody could come along and offer him and Nick Marsh $5 million each as a package deal, and they probably will. It's going to be up to Michigan State to pony up to keep him. So, but he's off to a good start. And I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he's probably committed to Jonathan Smith, unless, of course, Jonathan Smith, was looking to get out like Nick Saban did too, or something at some point. But that's another conversation for another day. I think Chiles, I like him. I like watching him play. I think that he is dangerous. I think the biggest thing in talking to Sharon Orr, he said you got to stay in your lanes, right? Your rush lanes. You can get there, and I think Michigan will at times, but then he can sidestep you, make a quick move, and then there's nobody there, and he's going to be either taken off downfield. You've got a secondary that doesn't know whether to come up, whether to stay with their guy, and it is a different challenge here. So it's going to be tough. I think they're going to spread them out a little bit. Michigan's got to stop the run. They got to make him one-dimensional, and that includes Chiles. They can't let him have success in the run game either. That means guys have to be more disciplined than they've been, guys, and the read option and things like that. Straight runs with Chiles if they decide to go that route. I'm expecting a heavy dose of him in the run game against the Wolverines and some things that we haven't seen. So I'm not confident that Michigan is going to do a great job against this Michigan State team. I've seen good defenses, Ohio State and Oregon, for example, really hold them down. But at the same time, what they did against Iowa and is what I think they might have a chance to do against Michigan, minus running the ball. I think Michigan is closer, unfortunately, to Iowa's defense than to an elite defense this year, even though they should be better. So that's why, to me, that's one of the reasons that I'm picking Michigan State to win this game.
Well, it's an Iowa defense, too, that, regardless of how you feel about how they stack up against Michigan, like historically speaking, a Kirk Ferentz defense is pretty disciplined, too. Those guys are assignment sound, and that's something that Michigan's defense has not been this year. And I worry about this. I mean, worry about the secondary with Will Johnson in there, but if he doesn't play in this game, I could see that being a problem for Michigan. I mean, this is a week I feel like if he can go, they really need him because Aidan Chiles, is going to kind of air it out. He's connected on a lot of big plays this year. They kind of, usually when you have a young quarterback, you try to rein him in a little bit and, lean on your run game and get him comfortable throws. No, I mean, Jonathan Smith has thrown him right into the fire. And early on, it looked like a bit much. I know there were some Michigan State fans wanted to see them maybe change quarterbacks, but this is why when you have a promising young guy, when you have any guy that kind of vomits a bunch of turnovers, if you think he can lead your offense, you stick with him, and those can be learning experiences. And last week, obviously I think the best game he's played to this point. So, I think Wink Martindale probably going to throw the kitchen sink at him. I assume they're going to blitz. They're going to bring a lot of pressure. If he's able to find, exploit that and find guys to spot, sending a couple extra guys, it's probably gonna be a long night for Michigan, especially on third down. I've said it several times this last week or so. Like when a team, when a unit, when a group shows you what they are, I kind of tend to believe them this time of the year, 2 months into the season. So I am concerned about that. Now, you look at their offensive line, that's an advantage for Michigan. I think when you have Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant up front and the edge rushers that Michigan has, I think that you should be able to get pressure with 4. And maybe that pressure becomes a little overwhelming if you send an extra guy, an extra 2 guys. But I think that they're going to try and get this ball out quick, get Aidan Chiles out of the pocket so he's not contained. And from there, it's going to be incumbent on, the back 7 that I think did play much better against Illinois coming off the bye week. If there's a silver lining at all, it's the fact that I think overall, for the totality of that game, I think it was a much better performance than what we saw at Washington. So a lot to clean up still. I think that, looks like Michigan State has a young quarterback that's kind of starting to figure it out. And he's played in some tough places too this year. I mean, they've played at Boston College. They played a road game at Oregon. I think compared to some of those atmospheres, this version of Michigan Stadium might be a little sleepier than in previous years. So I don't think he's going to be fazed by that at all. So Michigan's got to find a way to knock him off balance.
This offensive line is very vulnerable, but they're going to run a lot of max protection like they have, and including last week, play action, keep the tight ends and running backs in, try to give him time. And it's going to be on the Michigan corners to step up and make plays down the field and be sounding coverage, because Nick Marsh is a big play threat. He's twitchy, he's big, he's strong. That's why Will Johnson playing, which I don't think Will Johnson is going to play. We'll see. That him being in would be massive against them. I saw good things from Amir Hall and Jair Hill last week against Illinois' very good receiving core as well. So that's a positive. Michigan was playing more aggressively with the defensive backs last week compared to against Washington, when they were just leaving a bunch of cushion there and allowing them to convert some big third downs. But when you do that, you better not stumble or slip or fall down or lose a step, because Nick Marsh, who's really their game breaker, could make you pay. The other guys could make you pay because they're solid. Jerron Glover, Montori Foster, sounds like Alante Brown is going to play, but it's really Nick Marsh that I worry about the most. And one receiver can make a big difference. I even remember a couple years ago, Michigan State comes down, I think their first drive, and Keon Coleman just kept mossing Jamon Green and got in the end zone. That was 7 points, but and they didn't have anything else. But this Michigan State team against this Michigan team may have some more juice there the rest of the game. So if a receiver makes a huge play or takes over a drive, that could be a big difference maker. But any other thoughts on this Michigan State offense?
Nope. Just hope that they got to stop the run too. The running backs, I think they had 212 yards rushing, if I'm not mistaken, against Iowa. So it's a big step up for them. They're going to spread them out and try to find some gaps. Tackling's got to be a lot better.
Mm-hmm. And something Jonathan Smith talked about on Monday was how big the run game was for Aidan Chiles, because they put him in good situations. It just opens everything else up for them. They went to the play action game. So similar to Michigan, right? It starts there. Then you can get whatever your passing game is going. For Michigan State, they have more in that arsenal. Michigan, a little bit less, but still a dangerous tight end that they might be able to get going, like we saw against Illinois in the play action game. But we shall see. And we'll see if Michigan State can finish drives too. Another key stat, 38.5 is their touchdown percentage in the red zone. That's 131st in the country. They have been brutal down there, but they have an incredible kicker in Jonathan Kim, who has made a 58-yarder, 55-yarder last week. He is 15 of 16 on the season, so he can still put up points, and any points in this game are going to be big.